lives, because I understand that the majority of us here have just begun their careers, right? So how, if you can start early with savings, how you can achieve financial freedom as soon as possible? Because I think we all know what is the ultimate objective of life, and we don't want to keep working hard for money, because we all are working hard for money. But the idea is to know that is the money also equally working hard for us, whatever we are trying to achieve, right? So if we can have the presentation. Yeah.
What about the speaker?
Okay, so while we're setting up the speaker, if I can ask everybody to just note down, okay, and just take 2 minutes and write down what does financial freedom or what does financial independence mean to you all? Right? Just one line. I mean, one idea as to, okay, if tomorrow assume आज मेरे पास, if we had 3-4 crores of rupees, right, in a bank savings, what would we like to do? How do we visualize ourselves to be financially free, right? Because the idea is that there are enough investment opportunities for us to achieve that, and we will see how we can achieve that. But first, let's understand what is the concept of financial freedom. Would anybody like to share what is financial freedom? Yes. Yeah, I think there's a mic here.
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
So according to me, financial freedom means if we stop working at a certain point of time in my life, then I don't have to worry at all about my survival. And the money will work for me, and even with the standards that I have set at that age.
Super. I think that summarizes financial freedom in one sentence. Anybody else has any idea? Any other? Somebody on Mataji's, please. What is financial freedom according to you all?
Hare Krishna.
Right.
Maybe to analyze on the monthly expenses and to be secured that much of passive income would be coming to me, maybe on the basis of savings.
Perfect. So I think you said a nice word called passive income, right? So keep that in mind. Anybody else? One more answer. Financial freedom, yes.
Source of money from multiple sources.
Multiple sources of money. Okay. So we will come there, right? So what do I generally, when we say financial freedom, it means first and foremost we have no debt, right? Whatever loans, personal loans, home loans, our debt is zero, right? Second, we have money for emergencies, right? And we will come to we'll understand how important it is to have an emergency fund always kept aside, right? Ideally, we have our own house. We have insurance, and here I'm talking about medical insurance. That is very, very critical, because the costs of hospitalization are getting more and more prohibitive, and we will see some data points as to how the costs have increased over the years. Hospitalization, treatments, right? So medical cover is of utmost importance, because for a small premium that you pay, you're getting covered for lakhs. And ultimately having investments, right? So re-emphasizing what we got from the audience, right? We shift to a phase of active income to a phase of passive income. Today, or in the future you will be working, you are giving your time, and in exchange for time, you are getting salary, you are getting fees, you are getting income. But we won't come to a phase in life where there is enough of savings and that there are multiple sources of income which we don't need to work for money. I mean, we can work if we want to work, but that's a choice. Today, we don't have the choice to work, but tomorrow we'll have the choice. And ultimately, right, and I'm sure we are in this congregation, we've been taught that we all know what is the ultimate purpose of life. The sooner we can achieve financial freedom, the sooner we can then probably focus on our sadhana, on serving, and somehow contributing towards the mission of Prabhupada. But before we achieve financial freedom, okay, let us understand there are two obstacles which kind of are a big hindrance towards financial freedom, and this, we know it, we've heard of it, these we call them enemies of income, but let's understand the gravity of these obstacles. Inflation and tax. Okay, these are the biggest obstacles for our financial freedom. And I will give you some examples as to with some of our investors, some of our clients, what they've gone through by underestimating inflation and underestimating tax. If you can see this, how we underestimate the future of our financial needs. Right? This is what we perceive, the small dot you can see, and this is the reality. And let me give you an example. There was this client of ours, Mr. Pacey. He was a Parsi gentleman. In 2018, he came to us. At that time, he was the age of 55, 56, and he came for retirement. So when we asked him what his savings are, so that we can plan his retirement investments, he had a retirement corpus which was going to mature at the age of 60 of only 50 lakhs. And I said that 50 lakhs will not suffice staying in Mumbai city, right, in the heart of Mumbai and with expenses. He said, I'm aware, and that's why I've come for help, because in 1980s when he was working with Swire Shipping Company, and that time the company had tied up with LIC, the Life Insurance Corporation of India, because we didn't have many options then. Right? Mutual funds was not there, stock market was very unorganized. So that time, his salary in 1980s was around 2 lakhs per annum, because he was at a senior post, and his his monthly expenses was around 1 to 1.2 lakhs, around 10,000 a month. In 1980s, that was sufficient to survive. He thought that when I retire, I'll have 50 lakh corpus. From the 50 lakhs, I will get say 5 lakhs every year, approximately 60,000 every month, which should be more than enough for him and his wife. He didn't have any children. He underestimated two things. One, please understand, Prabhuji and Mataji, that in 1980s, the bank used to give FD, the FD return in the banks used to be around 12 to 14%, because India was still a developing economy. So he thought it will be safe, but today the interest rate is half of that. A safe, secure investment. And second, he underestimated inflation. Do you think 50 lakhs is enough to retire today? Right? So of course, unfortunately, he's still working. In fact, actually he had to sell his house, and he had to then move on rent. And of course now we have helped him with his retirement. So please understand that today, if the lifestyle, if the cost of living, a comfortable life, right, is say 4 lakhs to 5 lakhs a year, I'm talking about staying in a city, a metro city, in 25 to 30 years when you all are going to retire, keep a ballpark figure of 5 times is what you all will need to maintain the same lifestyle. So if the cost of living today is 5 lakhs per annum or 4 lakhs per annum, I'm talking for a couple, in 30 years down the line, it will be 35 to 40 lakhs. 35 to 40 lakhs per year you would need just to maintain the same quality of life. I'm not saying living lavishly or luxuriously. This is inflation. Another depiction of how inflation works, right? So what is inflation? Inflation is basically the devaluation of a currency. $1 was around 30 rupees 25 years back. Today $1 is 83 rupees. The cost of rupee is constantly depreciating. 2000 rupees today. Alright? If you just leave it aside, of course these notes have been banned now, but 2000 rupees today, over in 5 years, in 10 years it will be worth 1000 rupees approximately. In 20 years it will be approximately 570 rupees. In 30 years it will be 300 rupees. What is this? This is inflation. When I used to go to college, I used to go in rickshaw. The minimum fare was around what? That time 12 rupees, 13 rupees, yes, 13 rupees was the minimum fare. Today, the minimum fare in Bombay is 28 rupees. Same distance, probably even the same rickshaw driver or the same taxi driver. What has gone up? Because of the cost of goods. And how does the government calculate inflation? Anybody knows what is inflation in India? It's around 6 to 7%, yes. So they calculate that by whatever are the basic needs of a common man. The pulses, dals, sugar, salt. As a basket, it's called the CPI, and that is the inflation that the government calculates. But mind you, there is another inflation which affects all of us, and especially in today's day. It is the lifestyle inflation. Unfortunately or fortunately, they call this Ghor Kalyug, right? So materialism is bombarding us constantly with social media, right? Of course, fortunately, we've been safeguarded in this community where Prabhupada has taught us of simple living and high thinking. But there is an undercurrent of materialism which is going to impact us. We will want probably the better brand. We will want that ichha hoti hai of getting probably the latest phone. And we want to experience, and there is no percentage to this calculation. The wants can be unlimited, right? So, is there a hope? There is, right? How do we manage in this lifestyle? So before we get there, let's also look at taxes. They say two things in life are certain: death and taxes. You can't escape from them, right? So generally, again, unfortunately, we are all part-time government employees. Why? Because of direct tax and direct and indirect taxes. Almost, if you're earning 100 rupees, if you're earning 100 rupees, ultimately what we end up spending, the real income that we have in our hand is only 60 rupees. And of course, okay, now you're all in the lowest tax slabs. But as you as your income increases, as you rise in your careers, you all will be subject to more and more taxes. So out of 12 months, almost 5 months you are working for the government, right? And 7 months is what you have for yourself. So let us also plan our investments wisely so that they are more tax efficient and they can be much more tax friendly. So if these are the two enemies of income. Hello? I think that inflation, I think volume also reducing. Should I stand here? Would this be better because of the feedback? I should stand that side? Okay, yeah. So there is some hope, and to illustrate that, I would want everybody to do a small activity. Can everybody please stand up? Let me also stand here. So on the screen there is one slide. Okay, and this is an opportunity. This is an offer. I hope everybody can see the slide. No? Okay. Let me illustrate it. There is one option which you get. Option number one is you get 1 crore every day for 1 month. Alright? So if assuming the month has 30 days, totally we get 30 crores. 1 crore every day for 1 month. Option number two, right? Option two is you get 1 rupee on day 1, 2 rupees on day 2, double 4 rupees on day 3, and we keep doubling that. 16 rupees, 32 rupees, 64 rupees, again only for 1 month. Right? Now, how many of you would like option number 1, which is 1 crore every day for 1 month, can continue to stand? And anybody who would like to go for option 2 can probably sit down. Okay? Either you are sitting down out of tiredness, but yeah, I think someone sitting out of peer pressure. How much do you think will be at the end of 30? 30 will be more than 30 crores? How many of you feel will be more than 30 crores? Of course, that's why you're sitting down. Okay, I think I have a very small audience. I think this is the first time. Prabhuji, I think we have a great audience here, I must say. Friends, 1 rupee compounded, doubling every day for 30 days becomes 107 crores. Right? इसको बोलते हैं चक्रवर्ती ब्याज. This is the power of compounding. Right? And Albert Einstein, the famous scientist, right? He says that compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world. The person who understands it will earn it. Who doesn't understand will end up paying it. So paying low, credit cards, loans, personal loans, all that you're paying big amount of interest, and that interest is compound interest, mind you, right? So a person, once they get into that cycle of debt, it is very difficult to come out. But if you can use the same power of compounding for yourselves, right, we can achieve financial freedom much faster. So now let us understand what are some of the tools. Okay. So before we understand, I would like to highlight one aspect, that everybody has money. You all do savings, you all do investments. But let us channelize these investments towards goals. Usually these are the goals that people have. And an average, we've taken a survey, right? And most of the investors, clients who come to us, they either have the goals of supporting their family, for higher education, either for themselves or for the family, for the children, for saving for the marriage, again, or marriage for the children, buying a car, buying a house, very big goal for everybody, right? And ultimately retirement. We want to use the power of compounding. We want to channelize these investments towards these different goals. Of course, each one can have different goals, but I'm talking about generic, these are the goals what people have. And we are going to today discuss the places where we invest. So the most popular is fixed deposits, bank savings, right? There's also Provident Fund. Some of us invest in the Public Provident Fund, or if you're working, your company has something called as a Employees Provident Fund, EPF. We look at gold. Of course, real estate also is an asset class which people invest. I will not be covering real estate, but because it's a completely different topic. And we look at equity mutual funds and how we can channelize these asset classes, different asset classes for the goals that we want to achieve. There is one asset class which is missing here. Can everybody tell me here? Sorry? Crypto? Yeah, okay, crypto is completely out of my field because I mean, I would say crypto is more like, is tilting more towards speculation, right? And in India, of course, there is a way to invest in crypto if you are a full-time, a technical trader. But apart from that, in India, government is completely against crypto, and it's not, the taxation also is very heavy. So there is no point talking of that. But there is one asset class which everybody, stocks is there. Equity is stocks. Insurance. But is insurance investments? No. Okay, and we will look at that with example. Okay, but at the same time, insurance is very important and very critical. And the top insurance which we're talking about is life insurance, right? Okay, sorry. So life insurance, the purpose of life insurance is that tomorrow, due to any eventuality, for whatever reason, okay, if you have dependents, either if you have family, your parents, your spouse, could be your children, right? Their financial freedom or their financial needs should not be impacted, because if the sole breadwinner has left this world for whatever reason, right? That is the pure purpose of insurance. It is an unfortunate event, and against that, you get a payout from the insurance company which can take care of your family's needs. That's it. And hence, there is something called as a term plan, a term insurance. That is the cheapest form of insurance, where something as low as 20,000 rupees also, in fact, you're younger, something as low as 15,000 rupees, 18,000 rupees, you can get insurance for up to 1 crore. And insurance should be left at that. And let me give you an example, because generally we have a tendency कि अगर मैंने पैसा दिया है, ठीक है, I should get some return. So insurance companies come up with fancy, schemes of money-back policies, endowment policies. But please mind you that ultimately they are taking the money from you, they are investing in the stock market, they are keeping the big chunk of it and giving you meager returns. We've seen the example of how in this life we try to enjoy is the example of the sugarcane juice. That if you've seen, wo ganne wala, first you put the first time, you get the maximum juice, then you put the second time, the third time, and the fourth time जो बच्चा कुचा है, ठीक है, that is what is left. उसमें अगर आप insurance में invest करोगे, आपको उतना ही return मिलेगा, ठीक है? And this is the example. Here we have taken a simple example of an endowment plan where the monthly premium is 4,200, right? And it's a 15-year plan. The total insurance coverage which you get in this endowment plan is around 6 lakhs for 4,200 every month. But at maturity, after 15 years, you get 11 lakhs 17,000 as maturity benefit. So you've invested around 7.5 lakhs and you're getting around 11 lakhs. Nothing great, but let's break this in. How much time do we have? Let's break up this investment as to what the insurance company is doing. If you take a pure term plan, which will cost you, if you pay 5,000 rupees annually, which is approximately 400 rupees every month, right? You can get an insurance cover of 25 lakhs. So you're already getting 4 times insurance cover, right? Compared to the endowment plan. And whatever money which was saved, 4,200 minus 400 per month, you still have 3,800 left. If you kept that 3,800 even in a bank fixed deposit or a debt mutual fund which is giving you 7 to 8%, you still have 14 lakhs at the end of the year. Sorry, at the maturity. Same product, same thing, but you are doing it yourself instead of giving it to the insurance company, right? So the idea is to treat insurance as insurance only. The other insurance that is a must, and I would suggest the most critical is medical insurance, mediclaim, health insurance, whatever you call it, right? And this is some data points which Max Bupa had done as how some basic surgeries, treatments, how the cost is increasing every year, right? And the costs are getting more and more prohibitive. As you can see, after 20 years, a basic hospitalization will cost you anywhere between 30 to 40 lakhs, right? Again, keeping in mind inflation, keeping in mind cost of living going up, right? So, you are young. Generally, nowadays companies also give medical policies, medical claims as part of their pay packages. But we should also have one own for ourselves, because if you start now, it's very cheap. At the same time, if you don't use it, it's good because the company keeps giving you a no-claim bonus, which keeps increasing your cover over time, right? So Mediclaim is again very critical. So that takes care of medical. Okay. Coming to let's go time check. When did we start? How much time do?
26.
We have half an hour, right? Okay. Gold. So world over, it is said that Indians love gold for some reason, and especially South Indians, because Indians are the biggest savers biggest, you can say, accumulator of gold. So to further, increase and help, probably assist Indians for gold, the government has started something called as a sovereign gold bond, because they don't want people to invest in cash and do gold. There is a more systematic way. This gold investment is tax free, right? Plus it gives you an additional 2.5% of interest every year. So gold, so there are sovereign gold bonds, they call SGBs. Every 2 months there is a new series which comes out of SGB, 2 to 3 months, right? And you can invest in that. There is upper cap of maximum 4 kgs of gold you can invest as an individual, right? And this entire investment is tax free, plus you get interest on that. Okay. Now, how much to invest in gold? We will come to that as per our time horizon. Now, let's move on to the next asset class: fixed deposits and equity. What, according to you, is more risky? Equity or fixed deposit? By equity, I mean stock market, equity mutual funds, right? And that is the general perception we have, that equity is more riskier. Let's take an example. So here I have an example of a fixed deposit. Somebody who's invested 1,000 rupees in a fixed deposit, which is giving 7% today, right? Post-tax, mind you, the interest which comes into your bank account is after TDS, which is tax deducted at source. So they cut it at 30%, irrespective of whatever tax slab you are on, right? The bank has mandated to cut it at 30%. So effectively, after tax, a 7% fixed deposit is giving you only 4.9%, right? You can see 21 rupees has been deducted on a 1,000 rupee investment. However, we said the enemy, inflation is not going to leave us, because the money invested is invested. Ultimately you want to use it somewhere. Inflation is at play always. Your real return, and you can make a note of this, that real return is what you should calculate, not the nominal rate of return. Real return is your interest rate minus inflation. So post-tax, if your inflation is 6%, and if you got only 4.9%, you have destroyed your wealth in real terms, right? So this is a guaranteed loss, investing in fixed deposit. And unfortunately, friends, 90% of Indian savings are still parked in FDs. If a little bit of stock market, if you all know, which is currently at the all-time high, Indian markets, that is only 6% of Indian savings which have come into the stock market. And if you look at the US, if you look at Australia, the more developed countries, almost 60 to 70% of the individual savings are in the markets, equity markets. And that's why the government is also constantly promoting investing in capital markets by giving tax benefits. It's the lowest tax, 10% is a long-term capital gain tax, and giving us mutual fund schemes, pension schemes, also now investing in the markets. So, equity is an asset class which you cannot ignore. And especially all of you all who are so young today, right? Because time is on your side, equity is a definite must. Talking of America, in the capital market, India, the capital markets are only as old as 35 years. US markets, the first stock exchange to be noted is around 1802, right? And this is a comparison of $1 if it was invested in the capital market, in the stock market in the US, versus a bonds or T-bills and fixed deposit in the US are called treasury bills, versus gold. So we saw gold, right? But gold is not an asset class which creates wealth. Gold has always been an asset class which goes in tandem with your CPI, which is inflation. So gold is a good bet against inflation. Your money will not depreciate, but gold doesn't create wealth. There is a quote in Chanakya Niti. It says that an individual's household expenses should be as much as 1 pawan of gold or 1 guinea of gold, which is approximately 8 grams. Right? And if you see over time, 20 years back, 1 guinea of gold was around 12,000 rupees. Today, 1 guinea of gold is around 30,000 rupees, and which is sufficient for a household income, basic living. But look at the growth of stocks, and you'll see this small blip here. You'll see this big. This is the Great Depression. The Great Depression, there was an 80% crash in the stock market, but in time, it looks like a small blip. Let's look at the Indian stock market, Indian equity. Yes, it looks volatile. So people misunderstand volatility to be risk. It goes up and down because that is the nature of markets. But in the long run, it is always up. Okay? So again, what is more riskier? Equity, debt. Let's further understand what is equity. Equity, stock market, shares, it's all the same thing, right? Equity kya hai? Has anybody done some investments in stock market, in shares, equity, mutual funds? What is equity according to you?
It's the ownership of a company we get by investing something.
Perfect. Equity is owning the company which we invest in, right? So technically, you become an owner of. If today you buy shares of Reliance, you're an equal partner, not equal partner, but you're a partner with Mukesh Ambani, right? So there is this statistic data which I came across. An average person staying in the city uses 64 products a day, from the start till the end, from the time he gets up till he goes to sleep, and 37 services. And mind you that each of these products and services, behind them is a company. So since we are anyway consumers of this product, why not become investors? These are the companies, these are the top 50 companies of India, right? They are the ones manufacturing these goods and services. They are the ones who are employing people, taking debt, paying salaries, paying rent, and after that having profits. you are ultimately investing in the growth of that company, right? And I'm sure that ultimately everybody doesn't want to be in a job. They want to start their own startup or have their own company, right? So investing in equity is also investing in your own business. And behind each of these companies, so if you see, the maximum wealth creators have been the people who have created these companies. And tomorrow it could be one of y'all. You all could start your own company, you all can get funding, and tomorrow you all could be a listed company yourself. Right? So by investing in equity, by investing in shares, you're effectively participating in the growth of the nation. Because there are different industries which you all consume, which you all use, and you're effectively participating in that. And if you don't want to start immediately, so there are two ways of investing in the stock market, in equity. Either you buy the shares directly, or you can go through something called as mutual funds. Mutual fund is a better route to start with, because equity shares, what happens is you can't just invest in one or two companies. You have to have a portfolio of stocks. You never know which sector, which company could go down. Right? We've seen stories of Satyam, we've seen stories of Suzlon, Adani also in between, where there was a big, correction. So it's better that we are invested through mutual funds. So what are mutual funds? Let us just understand this asset class. Mutual funds is basically it is a collection, it's a pool of money which a mutual fund company takes. They have expert fund managers who are managing the money, who are tracking companies, who meet the management, who understand economics, the macroeconomics, microeconomics, and basis that they invest your money. And then whatever is appreciation which the mutual fund happens, that appreciation is passed on to you as an investor. Right? The benefit and advantage of mutual fund is that you can start slow. You can start with as low as 1,000 rupees also. In fact, 500 rupees also is the minimum investment you can start with. Right? It is immediately liquid. If you want the money, it's not locked in like 10, 15 years. You can withdraw it in 2 days. If today you redeem, in 2 days the money is in your bank account. Right? It helps systematically to regularize your savings. And of course, it is tax benefit. And yeah, the first point of diversification. If you want to invest 500 rupees also, you get the benefit of diversification across 30, 40 companies, which you can't do with just going directly to the stock market. So these are some advantages which mutual fund has. Again, here we have some numbers of how by just doing a 2,000 rupee SIP. SIP is a systematic investment plan, which is basically investing in mutual funds every month or every quarter or every week. You can choose your intervals of investments. Here we have some basic how if you invest in debt, which is fixed deposits, bonds, okay, what is the growth of 2,000 rupees invested every month over 5, 10, 15, 20 years. If you invest it balanced, that is a mix of equity and debt, or if you invest it only in equity, how over a period of 20 years, 25 years, so 2,000 rupees invested every month over a period of 25 years which is you've invested totally 6 lakhs, becomes almost 1.1 crores. Right? So this is again the power of compounding, how you're using the benefit of compounding to yourself. I'm fortunate, most of you all sat down, you all understood how money can compound, but then let's start applying it, let's start saving as soon as possible. Right? Of course, now how much to invest in equity, how much to invest in fixed deposit, how much in bonds, how much in gold, right? So that is a balance that we have to do. We can't be only equity, only debt, right? It's like how we have a balanced diet of pulses, grains, vegetables, fruits. Similarly, we have to have a balanced portfolio, right? So there are multiple ways of doing it. Either you all can self-educate, and I'll be happy to share some good reading books, some good websites which you all can refer to, right? Or you all can of course go to an expert, say a registered financial advisor or financial planner, and take the guidance from them. Basically, the idea is, the basic understanding is that if your time horizon is for more than 3 to 4 years, you can invest in more so-called riskier investments called equity. But if your time horizon is only 1 to 2 years, then equity is not recommended. Then shares, stocks are not recommended, because you would have come across people, friends with something called as tips. कि यार अभी अडानी में न्यूज़ आया है, अडानी में इन्वेस्ट कर दो, या फिर ये कुछ न्यूज़ आया है. If you invest in tips, trust me, you'll end up with tips only in hand. So don't go with informed investing. Long-term investment, equity is good, and in the short term, if like emergency fund, like I said, we'll come across what is emergency fund. Emergency fund is a fund which you should not touch for anything else other than an emergency. If your income has stopped for whatever reason, that can be parked in a fixed deposit, or that can be parked, say, in sovereign gold bonds. But if you have a horizon more than 3 to 4 years, equity is something which you cannot ignore, right? Like I said, you all can go to an expert. So usually what we do is, imagine if you go to a doctor, okay, and doctor, without diagnosing you, he gives you a prescription of medicine. Would you call that a good doctor? Right? The idea is that similarly, for investments, create a financial plan. There are a lot of financial planners here who are available. You can just search for them. Government is promoting them because they have given us a mandate to train more and more financial planners and get them, right? So they follow, and the financial planner is unlike an insurance agent or a mutual fund agent who gets commission. A financial planner works for a fee, like a doctor, right? I mean, we don't want to work with a doctor who gives us a medicine because he gets some kickback from the pharmaceutical company. Similarly, yes, there is a lot of mis-selling happening, right? We should be aware as to if the person who's giving us advice, is he giving it for his benefit or for our benefit? But if the person is charging a fee, which is unbiased advice, right? So then, what they do is they follow a process where they collect your data, they understand what are your goals, what are your needs, what is the current situation of finances, right? And then they plan it according to your risk profile. So that is a general process. Fine. Last 5 minutes, I just thought I will also, if you all don't, probably go out, you all can also have some basic tips, some do-it-yourself financial tools which you all can use yourself. And of course, then if there's anything else, I'm happy to help. Prabhuji is also there, so he can, if there are any questions, we can take that afterwards. So quick tool number 1, emergency fund should be 12 into your monthly expenses. Basically 1 year of your monthly expenses, 1 year of a monthly, so 12 into your monthly expenses should be kept aside in the emergency fund. And we had more than 7 to 8 cases during COVID, because overnight they lost their jobs, right? All their incomes, their salaries were halved. They did not know whether they will get the salary. And so they had to dip into their emergency savings, because monthly expenses also includes not only your lifestyle expenses, but the investments which are doing for your future savings, your retirement plan, your insurance premiums, all that goes towards emergency fund, right? So that is critical. Then generally people ask me, how much should I invest in equity, right? So there is again a very simple thumb rule. Again, these are the basic thumb rules. 100 minus your age should be the amount that you can park in stock market, mutual fund, equities. I would not recommend a person in his retired, in his late 60s, 70s to put in equity. But if you're young, you have time on your side, you don't need the money immediately. Just let it be invested and let it grow. What should be the retirement corpus? Again, a ballpark number, 30 times your annual income should be your retirement corpus, which you should try to save towards. So if, say, your monthly income is 1 lakh, which is an annual income of 12 lakhs, 30 to 12, 3.6 crores should be the retirement corpus with which you can comfortably retire. And this is again taking into, this figure is taking into inflation and how post-retirement inflation also is considered here. EMI. Ideally, we don't suggest any loans. I mean, if as much as possible, stay within your means. Okay, but a good loan is a home loan, right? Home loan you can take, and that also because it gives you a lot of tax savings, it gives you a lot of benefits. But please ensure that the EMI that you pay, that is the monthly interest and the principal which you are repaying, should not be more than 30% of income, because otherwise it will be unsustainable for you beyond a point, right? We don't want a situation where you then have to, because of whatever reason, you have to then give up your home. And the last tool, most important, save before spending. Generally we do income minus expenses savings, but let's reverse that equation. First save whatever your goals are, the buckets of our different life goals, and then let's spend. Okay? Of course, I would like to depart and close this session by saying that, and even in the Bhagavad Gita it's mentioned, that we don't want to just keep saving, because only saving is tamasic. Lakshmi ji is very chanchal, right? So you have to use it, and ideally they say that the best form of the sattvic way of spending money is through charity, right? The rajasic way is spending on yourselves, and the worst tamasic is just hoarding it, right? It's a big disservice to Lakshmi ji if you just keep hoarding it, but if we can use it for, for preaching activities, for spreading the mission of Prabhupada, of course that is ultimately where we would like to be financially free and do seva. Now, if there are any questions, I'm happy to take, and you all can also add to me. I hope I could, yes, if somebody can, I can hear you also, you have to pass them. Yes, please.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for the class, Prabhu.
Yes.
Actually, three things I wanted to ask quickly.
Yes.
One is inflation. I feel is not just I discussed with a few people, and it's just this 7% seems little. This thing, it's more than 10, 11 or whatever, and it's because we are seeing like the voice in which we are in, rent like almost doubled, and that is the case in many cities. So rent seems to be the major expense too. So and of course this tomato price went up so much.
So what you're saying is that
is much more.
True. So even I agree with you that the inflation which the government, with RBI publishes every month, those figures are probably unrealistic, because they have only taken into consideration a few basket of products which are the needs of the common man, right? But yes, like you said, education expenses, rental income. My entire schooling, what I spent, I have two boys. What I spent in 12 years of education, I'm probably spending now per child, right, for every year. So that's why I did cover not only economic inflation, but also lifestyle inflation. So, and rental income, your rents, your education, your traveling, all that is going to increase. So even more that you have to be mindful of inflation. So yes, is there any question which you?
No, it's just sometimes I'm a little pessimistic about saving because of this overwhelming rate of inflation growth.
So if you don't save,
No, no, not about that, but like pessimistic about retiring early or like financial freedom.
Yeah.
Will that ever even happen in my life? Those kind of how long will I have to work?
yeah, so we have to control. I mean, we have to do things what is in our control. Hello, Haribol. Hare Krishna. Yeah. So we have to try to do whatever is in our control, right? So in our control, what we have is we know, okay, this is the places to invest, these are the places to save, because it's better to save. It's better to at least continue our savings, right?
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Prabhuji, you mentioned that we should have our own medical plans. Like there are two types. One is given by our company for ourselves and our parents also.
Yes.
So like what? Please correct my thoughts. Like for us at this stage, because we are younger, we should have our own medical plan, which should not be dependent on a company. And my question is like for our parents who are at a like grown-up stage. So should we, because at this stage if I will go in market to take a plan for them, then that will be a very costly one. So for them, can I rely on the company plan like which I have like 5 lakhs cover for them?
Right. So no, it's a great question. So I hope you understand this question. Right? He's saying that his company is already giving a medical plan, but should he also create a separate plan for himself? Now, and we've had multiple cases. What happens is that the person is relying on the company's medical plan, right? And then when they change jobs, or for whatever reason, they leave the job. At that point in time, when they go for medical policy, it becomes very expensive to get that same cover. So what we recommend, if say your company is giving you a medical cover of around 5 lakhs, which is part of your pay package. On top of that, you can also start a small mediclaim of around 2 to 3 lakhs, right? It will cost you hardly 3,000-4,000 rupees per year at this age. But mind you, of course, if any calamity comes, you can use a company medical plan, because you didn't use your own plan, right? You get something called as a no claim bonus every year. So for the same premium which you are paying, your coverage from 2 lakhs becomes 4 lakhs, then 6, then 8. It keeps increasing. So after 5 years, after 10 years, for a small premium of 5,000 rupees, you're getting a medical cover of almost 10 to 12 lakhs of your own, and you're not dependent on the company. And then in the same plan, you can add something called as a family floater policy, where you can include your dependents. You can include your parents. Of course, they will, if you add your parents, they will assess it, they will increase, the premium will increase little, but it will not be as much as if you try to do it independently afterwards. So, I hope that answers the question, Prabhuji, that a small medical plan outside your company you can start off with, which is not too much.
Just I will like to add on it. So my question was, I am talking about myself and my parents.
Right.
Like our parents who are not working and who are like kind of retired, they
Right.
also need a medical coverage.
Okay.
So currently our job, in whichever company we are, that takes care of that, like whatever 5 lakhs, 10 lakhs, depends on the job. So my question is, should I take an independent plan for themselves at this stage? Because if I will be taking a plan for themselves, the premiums which I will have to pay monthly or yearly, that will be quite high.
Right.
So should I rely on my company?
But in your company policy, are your parents covered in that?
Yes.
They already
That is
covered
there like in majority of them.
Right. So apart from that, apart from that, it is recommended that you start a small cover separately outside the company, so that you are not dependent and you are not at the mercy of this company in the future. That is the only idea. Start a small cover, whatever you feel is affordable to you, because the benefit is not now. Benefit is in 3-4 years, there is something called as a no claim bonus. Your cover will multiply at the same premium. Even if it's 1 lakh cover, but start it.
Similar to this question means one more benefit will be that waiting period will be over for parents in case his job is gone or he changes company. That time parents will be means that will be beneficial if he has separate.
Absolutely, perfect. Waiting period also, yeah. So there is, for elderly parents, the insurance companies have a waiting period to add them in any policy. And as rightly said, over time, the waiting period also is done away with, so you can get the benefit of them tomorrow if anything happens.
Hare Krishna, in addition to the same topic, if a parent is in his 50s or 40s, and as we said, they should not be relying on companies' cover because it's not permanent. If I consider myself, it's not permanent.
True.
So, should we opt for yearly medical insurance or the one we continue? I do not know what it is called, but a long-term insurance, not the yearly package.
So generally, medical insurance is paid yearly, or you can also pay monthly. And sometimes they allow you to pay for 2 years at a time. But medical insurance is not like life insurance. There's a difference. Life insurance is if something happens, if you leave the body. Medical is for hospitalization. So these are two different term plans. Term plan is life insurance is against a death in the family, whereas a medical policy is for a hospitalization only and for medical treatments. So that is the difference. And you can pay, generally the premium is paid one time for the entire year, and then you renew it every year. Yes.
In case of life insurance, you mentioned that monthly 400 or something premium for 25 lakhs.
For pure term plan, yes.
Pure term plan. So, how you have calculated that? Like 25 lakhs, how much is premium paying term or age?
So, I've taken an average because I understood the average audience age is around 23-24. So, for 5,000 rupees per year, you can get a cover of anywhere between 25 lakhs of life insurance.
And policy term and premium paying term?
Around 15 years, paying annually every year 5,000, or you can pay around 400 every month.
And 25 lakh cover will be for how many years? Means how
15
much
years.
you suggest someone to take? Like,
So, okay, good question. So he's asking, how long should be your term insurance? Ideally, what we suggest is, so there are two options, there are two schools of thought. You can take something called as a whole life plan. Whole life plan is you are insured till the age of 100. Right? So, only if you survive beyond 100, you don't even get paid. But otherwise, right? So there is almost like a guaranteed payout to your family members. Or you take a term plan till retirement. Because we are saying that at retirement, all your dependents, your children, they have become self-independent, they have become, they have married and taking care of themselves, right? And it's only you and a spouse. And by that time, you have enough of retirement corpus to take care of your financial needs. So ideally, insurance can be taken till the age of 60. That is the thing.
Truly, means I am having just one question regarding this only. Means I had done some calculations. Means I am also in similar field.
Okay.
So if we take till 80 or 85, and premium is almost means there is not much major
Correct.
difference.
Correct.
And surviving till 80 or 85, there are means less chances. So that is also one more benefit we can give to our nominees.
True.
Means, or
Because-
what do you
So look,
60 or
what you're saying is
80?
correct. What you're saying is absolutely right. That whether you take a term policy till 60 or till 80 or 85, there's not much difference in the premium, right? I'm just talking from the point of view of the principal insurance, because you have enough of assets by the time you retire. You have savings, right? So the purpose of insurance is beaten, right? Let's take some question from behind. I saw the hands behind.
Please ask one question at a time. Give chance to others as well. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, yes.
Can you please suggest some good tool to invest a lump sum amount?
Okay. So yeah, so lump sum amount is basically, generally what we recommend is that if you want to, I'm presuming you want to invest in the stock market in equity, right? Because that is the asset class if your investment is for more than 3 to 4 years. Now, one way not to invest in equity is by not putting your entire lump sum into the stock market or into a fund. So say if you have 1 lakh rupees which you want to invest, you should invest in something called as a STP, a systematic transfer plan. What it does is, they take your money of 1 lakh and they put it in a debt fund, like a debt mutual fund. And from the debt mutual fund, every month, 5,000 rupees plus the appreciation of the debt mutual fund gets invested into an equity mutual fund. So it's like a SIP, but it is going from the STP, and automatically, systematically, the money is transferred from debt to equity, and then after the entire transfer is done, then you get the benefit, then the entire money is invested in equity, so that if tomorrow 1 lakh you invest, like today market is at all-time high, and for whatever reason, there's a big correction, your entire 1 lakh can become 30%, 40% you can lose, which has happened. Like in January of 2008, which was the peak before the financial crisis, the market from Jan corrected almost 60%. Right? So somebody who invested 1 lakh rupees, his 1 lakh became 40,000. But if you've done a STP, right, and we have data to show that any STP over a period of 48 months becomes completely risk-free. Right? Why? Because you're earning the interest, at the same time you're averaging out the investments. It is, you have invested at the peak, then you invested at the lowest point, and you're investing at so your investment curve is much more smoother and not volatile like the index. So that's a good investment for a lump sum investment if you want to do. Good way to invest.
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes.
Thank you so much for telling so many investments. I just had one question. There is something called as RD also. So
Recurring deposit. Yes.
What are your thoughts on it?
Again, so RD is a recurring deposit, which is like a fixed deposit, right? But what RD does is, instead of investing lump sum, RD invests from a savings account, it transfers a fixed amount every month, right? But the return which you get in RD is almost equal to the fixed deposit. So it is, again, if you remember the slide where the return of fixed deposit post-tax and post-inflation is negative. So if your time horizon is 1 to 2 years, right, you could do it fixed deposit. But more than 3 years, I would not recommend RD, because the investment, the return is less than 4 to 5%, which is not very great in time of such inflation. Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So I have a question about emergency savings.
Yes.
So you talked about parking them in sovereign bond. So would you like to talk something more about like how liquid is that? Like how much liquidity?
No, so emergency fund ideally should be in fixed deposit or liquid fund. There's something called a liquid mutual fund. I meant liquid fund because gold also can be negative. So emergency fund should not be. If I said that, I correct myself. If your time horizon is 2 to 3 years, you can put it in sovereign gold bonds. But if you want to invest in emergency fund should be in a fixed deposit or a liquid fund. And to answer the second question, the liquidity of SGBs, sovereign gold bond, there is something called as a secondary market. So tomorrow, although the investment is for 8 years, but if you want to liquidate, you can immediately sell your gold bonds in the secondary market, and you can get your capital plus the appreciation back.
Okay, so I have one follow-up question is that, for suppose I don't have a requirement of emergency fund, like I don't land into such situation. So now whatever the amount is there, it will be hit by the inflation, and the value will go down, right? Because I'm having it into a savings account or fixed deposit, or whatever it is.
True.
So that is fine.
So you are saying that if you don't create emergency fund, you put the money in a gold.
But chances are there, like I don't know. So what, anything can happen, right? So,
Right.
Like that.
No, so correct. So you are saying that if the money is parked in emergency, right, it is getting affected by inflation,
Yeah.
right? But that is the only most liquid asset available.
Okay.
There is no other option. Instead of leaving it at home, the money just lying idle, the next best option is to put it in a fixed deposit.
Okay.
That's why if the time horizon is 1 year, I would suggest fixed deposit. Otherwise, anything more than 1 year, FD is not recommended. Yes, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I already invested in mutual funds.
Yes.
That is called SBI, something scheme is there.
Yeah.
75-80,000 I have invested. It becomes 1,30,000 now.
Yes.
But some people say that as per market goes and up down, it will come somewhat lower. 130 means it shows 120, 110 sometimes.
Correct.
So how you guarantee that mutual fund is always guaranteed you to give the much more than the other investments?
So if you see, Prabhuji, and if you see the slides, right, the average return of equity mutual funds or equity stock investments over the last 10-15 years has been around 14 to 15%.
Yeah.
But it is not constant. The nature of equity is like some years it will give you 30-40%, then it will be negative 10%, then flat, then again 30-40%. So it is fluctuating. That is the nature of equity, right? So the idea is not to see your equity chart every day, because it will fluctuate. That is the nature of equity investment. But if you know that, okay, I will see my investments after 1 month or ideally after 1 year, it will be a linear graph. Like you said, you've invested 75,000, which has grown to 130. But now, if you want the money immediately, or if you need the money after 1-2 years, I would recommend you liquidate the money and park it in a debt mutual fund. But if you don't need the money, let it be invested, right? Or, like I said, you should link. It's very important to link your investments to a goal, so that there's an emotional connect to that. If it's just lying idle, what happens is, abhi paisa hai, dikh raha hai, and some opportunity comes, we immediately liquidate the money. But tomorrow, we don't want to eat into our own retirement savings or our own goals for the future. So it's always better that आपके investments को you link it to a particular goal. Then it will not bother you if the market is fluctuating up and down.
It is suggested that you keep it in for 15 years. That will be multiple. You can get in multiple.
Absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
Anything more than 5 years equity, you will see multiple phenomenal growth. That is time tested. I've shown you history of US also, last 200 years, and India markets also have given that returns. So equity is definitely good for long term. Yes.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, ma'am.
So, since we have the liberty to take risk, I have invested more in small cap since it's high risk, high return. But so given that I'll not be touching that amount in like given 3-4 years, is that the right way to go about it? More than Nifty 50 and like the low risk return.
Correct. So for the knowledge of everybody, in equity also there are subclasses. There is large cap, which are the large companies where the market cap is more than 10,000 crores, right? Then there is mid cap, mid-size companies, and small cap. So small cap companies are where the market cap is less than 500 crores. Now the benefit of small cap is a smaller company generally has higher chance to give more returns and get more growth, because a company like say a TCS or Infosys, which is already a very, very large cap, it can't grow at exponential rate. Right? It will grow at a slower rate. A small cap can really multiply, can become the next multi-bagger, so to speak, right? Today, there is a company called Swan Energy, which people are talking about. They're saying that can become a multi-bagger because it has the potential to grow at 5x, 6x over the next 3-4 years. But at the same time, small cap is more risky. So please understand this. If you want more returns, you have to be willing to take more risk. But the risk gets mitigated with time. So if you have a very long-term horizon, so ideally small cap, I would not even say 3-4 years. More than 5 to 6 years, then small cap is good, right? Small cap, because there is a chance the company can also fail. But so out of 10 small cap companies, probably 1-2 may really become the multi-bagger. Versus you compare to large cap, the blue chip stocks, you know that they are already very big. They have a certain amount of business coming in, right? So the chances of them failing is much lesser. So if you have to further delve into mutual funds, then you can look at a good diversified portfolio between small cap, multi-cap. So it's called multi-cap investments or flexi cap, where it fluctuates, where you can invest between large cap, multi-cap and small cap stocks. But if you're doing only small cap, I would recommend minimum 5 years of horizon. Because if there's a correction, the first to go down and correct are the small cap companies. That's why.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu,
yes.
Can you little bit more elaborate about taxes? Like specifically, like we are hearing that we might get our income after 10-15 years 1 crore, but it might happen that at that time if we want to try to take out those money, then it might happen that the taxes of government might reach 30% or like this. So can you just give some idea or some research you might have that about regarding the taxes specifically? Because 1 crore after taxes become like.
Exactly. I mean, you have seen, right? That 1 crore, I mean, at 1 crore package, you are at the highest tax slab, right? You are subject to indirect taxes. So literally, you are effectively paying almost 45% in taxes. But so, okay, now there are two ways of dealing with taxes. If you are a salaried employee, right, you have no choice, because you are the company will cut TDS, will cut your whatever taxes mandatory they have to cut, and it will come in your hands. However, if you have the option, and I don't know how many people have the option, if you have the option to take a salary in the form of commission, in the form of professional fees, right? Then there is some scope of tax planning there, because then you can claim some expenses against that income, right? You can claim your travel bills, you can claim other expenses of auto payments. And if you have a good CA, I mean, unfortunately I'm not a CA, but if you have a good CA, he can minimize your taxation to bare minimum 5 to 10%, provided it is not salary income but commission income, professional income, or other fees which you earn. That's the only way for saving on taxes. But in investments, right, again, as of now, equity is the least taxed instrument. All other instruments have very high taxation, right? Apart from your PF and your pension schemes, but then you're compromising on your returns. But if you're investing in equity, your long-term capital gain tax is only 10%. So that is one place where you can really look at efficient investments and tax savings. Yes?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, yes.
So, as you said that, tax rate is very high. So, one thing is that we have to plan our taxes, like tax planning. And the second is tax evasion.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes we show that we are donating to political parties or
Right.
show rent to our parents.
True.
So should we show this and evade tax?
No, so tax, there's a very thin line between tax planning and tax evasion, right? Understand that again, for salaried people, tax evasion is practically impossible. If you see, a lot of tax evasion happens for people who have own businesses, where they don't show profits, and they show fake expenses, and then they claim expenses and they take money in cash and all that. But salary you can't take in cash, right? But within your purview of salary income, if you're claiming HRA, like by paying, I think that would fall on the camp of tax planning, which is fine, right? But tax evasion is very difficult, and like I said, that is also can be dangerous because then you can get penalty and you can get penalized.
So showing rent to parents is.
I would say that comes with tax planning. Yeah. Yes, I think. Okay, so last couple of questions, right? And then I'm happy to, that's my email ID. So if you have any other questions, I'm happy to answer that.
No repeat questions. I will give the mic on.
Here. Hare.
Hare Krishna, yes.
Prabhuji, while taking term plans,
Yes.
how much corpus should we select, keeping in mind the inflation also?
True. So how much should be your corpus for your insurance? There is, I can't recollect now, but there is ideally, if you see the retirement corpus that we saw, 30 times your annual income, right? For insurance, it is assumed that it can be 20 times. Again, this is a thumbnail. The most precise way to do it is to sit with a financial planner, calculate your expenses, inflate them for the future, right? So there's something called as a present value calculation, it's a 3-step process where you calculate what can be your future expenses as per your current lifestyle, right? You discount it by the real rate of return, right? And then you come to know what is the actual requirement of your insurance required. After taking into consideration your children's education expenses, their planning for the marriage, your home expenses, right? Scientifically you can arrive at a more precise figure. But to give you a ballpark figure, 20 times of your annual expenses should be the amount of insurance you should take as that, which over time, mind you, today you take 20 times, but as and when your investments keep increasing, your assets keep increasing, your insurance amount required keeps decreasing. अगर आपके पास already 3 crore रुपए है in savings, then why do you need insurance? Because tomorrow if anything happens to you, your wife, your family will get access to that investments which you already made. So insurance is only required when you don't have that assets. So I hope that answers the question. So to start with fresh, 20 times your annual income, but over time you can reduce it and reduce your insurance payout. Yes. Yeah, readings. Yeah, I will tell you, there's a good list of books. I've made a note of that. 1 second. Let me display on the slide, or if you all can note down. Sorry? I have, yeah, 1 minute. Okay, so I'm sending, there are some 4-5 books which is a must for everybody, right? It will really simplify the concepts of financial planning, right? And it will truly help you move towards, again, the objective of financial freedom, right? I will share it with Prabhuji and we'll send it on the group, right? There are these 5-6 books which is a must for everybody to read. Even if whatever field you are in, whether you are in technology, IT, whatever, or you're a doctor, these are very simple books to read and very small, which I'll send the list immediately and you can share it. Yes, please. Okay.
So you want to thank Vrindavan Kumar Prabhu for very precisely presenting the concepts. The whole idea of this session was to make all of you jack, at least aspiring to be a jack of financial investment. We are not becoming masters in this one session, but at least to become aware, that okay, something like this also exists. And and then this is, we need to kind of progress in this direction. So this is an orientation session, and it is, you need to think about it. It is covering very, very vital concepts which you can go deeper into and as you're saying, some of the books which also get shared and all those. And I think you can also share some of the.
This slide is also available, so if you all want, you can circulate the slides also to people, so they can refer it whenever they want.
Yeah, and some journals or something which they can read regularly. Okay, so that will be really good. Some kind of subscriptions also, because I think nothing good comes free. Okay, so you have to pay actually. So I think there are certain subscriptions also which if they can buy and and become kind of sort of more aware about all these things. So thank you so much, Prabhuji.
I hope it was educating enough. I hope you all could took something home with this, right? And yeah,
So
please.
let us respond with a resounding Hari Bol. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.